Before we can get into this episode of the DevCast, be sure to like, subscribe, and join our community link down below. Hello everyone and welcome to the DevCast, your weekly Roblox podcast for all Roblox-related content and personal up-close interviews and conversations with some of your favorite Roblox creators. I'm your host, Dev for Hire, and this is my co-host, Unix developer. Today we are here with JennyBean and Ravenshield, known for their ambitious endeavors in wildlife conservation through their newest project known as Untamed Planet. All right, welcome guys. Welcome to the DevCast.
Thank you.
Yeah. This is actually our 10th episode, luckily, which is insane. I can't believe we've actually managed to reach 10 episodes. But not only is that, this is probably our largest episode as well. So I'm pretty I'm pretty proud of what we've accomplished essentially. Yeah. Anyways, just moving on. We were actually in a conversation about Roblox stocks. So Raven, you said that you invest in Roblox stocks. So how much do you have in Roblox stocks? Did you invest in a small amount, large amount?
Yeah, I invested a medium amount, not my whole life savings, but also enough to over time make some impact.
Yeah.
But it was mostly just to kind of invest back into my workplace because Roblox is the environment we work in. And also a little bit for fun, you know. It's money I can live without, but if it grows up, it's awesome, you know.
Bit on the side.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm with Jenny. I don't invest in Roblox stocks. I'm still kind of like trying to educate myself, you know, just to make sure that I don't mess up or like screw up or anything, and just all my money is just down the drain. But of course, I think I'm. Yeah, Unix. Sorry.
I've invested in stocks, but not Roblox. This is where everyone shoots me down.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. What? How dare you? You can't do that, Unix. How dare you betrayed the platform? You horrible human being. How dare you?
Well, when I invested it, Roblox Stocks
the vision,
exist.
man, the vision.
Yeah, the vision. You gotta finish the vision, you know. You gotta have that vision of the metaverse. Well, I mean, I feel like if you want to invest in Roblox stocks, you kind of have to believe in the idea of the metaverse, even though no one really actually knows what the actual definition is. Yeah, I don't think there actually is a definition yet.
No? Yeah, you keep seeing it pop up as a buzzword for all these other companies now.
Yeah.
And it's becoming this sort of liquid or cloudy thing that no one can really define.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I've been trying to define it for ages, but essentially, I don't know, from David Bazuki's podcast that I listened to recently, his definition is essentially just, it's more like a technical platform of multiple, it's nothing to do with the fact that I think it's a platform. It's more to do with, I think it was something to do with the fact that you could join on computer and phone. I guess it's more of that, to him, it's more of that definition. So, I mean, but, which is quite interesting, and all that type of stuff. And that you could play on multiple devices, and that's what the metaverse is. Even though I think every game kind of can do that, so, but, yeah, anyway. I actually want to get into some questions that I've actually been like burning to actually ask you guys. So I'm just going to ask you guys each individually. We're just going to try to keep this separate. So I'm going to ask Jenny first, and then I'll ask Ravenshield next, essentially. But I'll ask you guys the same question. But yeah, Ravenshield, you can answer after Jenny. So I just want to ask you guys, when did you guys join Roblox as a whole, and what is your journey? What was your journey leading up to now? So I'm going to ask you first, Jenny.
Okay, yeah, sure. Well, I joined Roblox back in 2012, so it's been quite the journey.
Yeah.
Almost 10 years now, actually. That's ow.
I feel old as well, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's been quite the interesting journey. My first project, I reached out to Maista. I don't know if I'm sure you've heard of Anne before. Her and I were both, you know, just kind of starting out in terms of building and that sort of thing. And I reached out to her to ask her how you get on the Roblox Highschool team with Cindering.
Oh, Cindering's awesome.
And yeah, so we both applied. We both got in. and it was a great time. So my first project was Roblox Highschool by Cindering, specifically the 2015 summer update, the map revamp. That was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've just kind of been bouncing around. I created, or sorry, not created. I worked on the Halloween event in 2017 with Sigmund. Actually, that's
Oh,
where I
that's
met
awesome.
Ravenshield.
Oh, that's great.
So yeah, so it was pretty cool. Tranquility was my showcase, and it's probably one of the things that I am known for is just as a showcase builder. And that was a pretty awesome thing, and a couple of game jams that was fun, and yeah, I mean, I've been working on some stuff on the side, and specifically working on Untamed Planet. I've been with this team. I joined this team around March, so it's been a few months now, and it's been great.
Oh, well, that sounds like a wild journey. Yeah, I don't even have a backstory that intricate. And I think that's an amazing story you've gone through there. How many people you've met and how far you've come. And in all honesty, I just because I also looked I still look up to you to this day. I'm literally your biggest fan. But I just love your showcases. They're absolutely fantastic. Especially that new one that you've just recently came out with. And I think that message is truly deep. Yeah, about all the climate issues that we're facing at the current moment. And yeah, onwards. I'll just move towards you now, Raven. How was when did you start on Roblox, and what was your journey leading up now, essentially?
Yeah, I started in 2007 in November. So
Yeah.
I'm actually around 14 years now this year.
What?
Which is pretty crazy
Whoa.
because many of our players are
Oh,
actually
yeah.
younger.
Yeah, that's true.
So
Yeah.
I've been on Roblox longer than most people have lived on the button. And
Oh.
that's pretty crazy. But I started out kind of just playing the first few weeks, and then I got into Roblox Studio and inserted nukes and stuff to blow up Happy Home in Roblox, which was the
Yeah.
sort of template place back then.
Yeah.
And eventually, my friend circle grew, and at some point I actually got like a full game from a friend
Yeah.
because I was a builder, so I started making maps. So back in 2008, I had Hide and Seek, which was actually one of the most popular games on the platform at that time. And for many, maybe like the predecessor for what Hide and Seek is today. Although I wasn't the first, but I kind of carried on the same game.
Yeah.
And from there on out, I kept on expanding my building. I got into the Elite Builders of Roblox, at some point. Not sure when that was, maybe 2011. And started exploring programming more. Before you know it, we're making Egg Hunt 2017. We're making Egg Hunt 2018 and Ready Player One and a Halloween event with Jenny. I become the owner of the EBR and kind of try to foster the building community more. But realized that I'm more into game development and programming. Fast forward to August last year, I started working with Untamed Planet as the solo developer there and kind of building up the team to where we are today. And now we're 7 full-time employees, which is pretty cool.
That's great. That's fantastic. Yeah, I mean, I just... sorry? No, I think someone's trying to knock on my door. Probably. Sorry about that. No, apologies. Wait, so you... I noticed something in particular. You said that you were the owner of EBR. Was it once, or are you still the owner of EBR?
No, I gave it away last year.
Oh,
but I owned it for 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, because I just remember...
I'm not... Yeah, I'm not involved with any of the building groups right now.
Oh, well, that's quite
in
interesting.
honesty, I haven't been building since, I don't know, 2015 or 16 maybe.
It's been a while. Yeah.
So I haven't kept brushing up on my skills and looking at what some people create today. Both of you guys, like Dev for Hire and Jenny, super crazy stuff. I don't think I can replicate.
But long before I, ever started building in, just anything to do with showcases, I always looked at Jenny's work, and I used to be like, oh my gosh, I just wish I could. I wasn't necessarily too sophisticated because I think Jenny's been a part of the community for a long time, and I used to doubt myself a lot, and I just didn't often believe in myself when it came to making showcases. I just released one about this year, and this is using my new tree foliage designs, which I don't even know how the heck I even made it, but I absolutely...
They look amazing, by the way.
Oh, thank you, Jenny. Thank you. Yeah, I think I've also, in terms of, I've come a long way as well when it comes to building as a whole, and I think our past, all of our past, yours and Jenny's, it really does come to shape who we are as developers, and I think that's also a very important process, and and I'm glad that you guys have essentially broken that down, so everyone essentially has a better understanding of essentially where we all are from, essentially. Are you okay there, Unix? Are you moving? Are you sure you're not frozen?
Yeah, I'm all good.
You look frozen. Ah, jeez.
I know.
Okay. Well, I'm just let's actually get on to probably the largest question that I want to actually ask you guys. In particular, let's actually get down to the real grit of it. What actually inspired you guys to start Untamed Planet as a project?
I'm gonna let Sigmund take this one, considering that he leads the project and he knows a lot about the mission. He's really passionate about it. So,
all right,
take it away, Sigmund.
Yeah. The entire game is actually for the company called Untamed Planet in the United States, and it was started last year or in 2019. And they actually approached me and asked if I wanted to be sort of the cornerstone kind of lead developer taking this off the ground.
Yeah.
And it was kind of a coincidence because just a couple months earlier, I had decided to take a gap year in my studies.
Yeah.
Because, the pandemic came around and I didn't want to start a new course up being on Zoom with all my classmates and, not getting to know them properly.
Yeah.
I decided to just pursue game development and maybe in particular Roblox.
Yeah.
At that point. So when they approached me, it was just like a super nice because it hit just right in time and in what kind of impact I wanted to make and so on. And for a long time, I've wanted to make a change in the world and kind of help improve the world in some way or another. And I haven't quite figured out how to do that until they approached me and said, hey, we want to make a change, but we want to make a change with a game. Then suddenly my hobby of 13 years and my sort of long-term goal of making a change suddenly merged.
Yeah.
So that was the start of the Roblox game on Untamed Planet, although the company has been in concept for a little longer.
Did you bring up the idea behind the Roblox concept game, or was it them?
They brought up the concept as a game, but from there on, I kind of shaped it to the game it is.
So they gave you the reins.
Yeah, they wanted to create a game because they wanted to reach a younger audience and get the younger audience started with or educated on conservation and nature and what kind of things we can do as a society.
Yeah.
But they had no game experience, so they had a cause, they had some funding they wanted to put in, and they had an idea, and then I kind of took it from there.
Oh. Well, yeah, I don't think there are a lot of games that necessarily on the Roblox platform who ever, that actually have a take on wildlife conservation. Usually it is often for, overall profit or all these different types of other aspects and goals and, even group-based things. But, yeah, I think that's quite unique that you guys, that you're, interested in this particular genre of at least helping the environment, unlike many other games. And I think that's really inspiring. And I don't, and I just don't know a lot of people who would actually choose to do that. Some people would say, I got something better to do with my time, or they really just rather feel that it isn't really necessary for them. But I think, I think when it comes to actually having to give awareness to wildlife conservation and all that type of stuff with Untamed Planet, I'm sure you would have to really buckle down and keep a real focus on certain things. And I'm sure it does actually get quite daunting. It must be because
sure.
it's a
And
really hard goal.
It's a space we don't know a lot about, and I think Jenny can also fill in there. But it's for me, creating games just to create games or creating games without a specific purpose has never been interesting. So when I suddenly found a project
Certainly,
that I
Yeah.
had a goal and had a sort of purpose, I knew I could make an impact.
Yeah.
That's when it got interesting. Obviously, we also need to earn money with this game because the game needs to be sustained. And if we want to support projects around the world,
Yeah.
we need to have revenue we can pour into those projects. And we need a dev team, so we need to have revenue to fund a dev team and stuff like that. But for us, it's not first and foremost to raise money, but that's also a side part of it.
I know what you mean. Well, in terms of actually, now in terms of the goals behind giving awareness of, how limited time we actually have with our wildlife, would you necessarily say that we have a lot of time left in terms of actually being able to, help conserve wildlife within our area on Earth or wherever there is? Or do you think we're actually running out of time? Is there a certain time frame that we have to somewhat achieve things before it's too late?
Yeah, Jenny, you wanna go on with that one?
Yeah, for sure. We are certainly running out of time. It is incredibly important that we conserve these animals and wildlife in general, not only because they're beautiful and amazing and everything, but the downfall of this wildlife would be catastrophic to our planet. Our planet runs on a whole structure. Nature's all intertwined with each other, and if, let's say, for example, elephants go extinct, there's a bunch of animals that rely on elephants for food and for whatever kind of cause you can find. I mean, plants, animals, that sort of thing. I know tigers are going extinct. Rhinos are another one that are pretty.
That's quite tough.
Pretty,
They're all being
that's
Correct,
actually very close to me because I'm not. I don't know if I exactly told you guys, but I live in South Africa, and there's and there's plenty of game farms and stuff like that, and you know what? It actually is quite cruel. What they do is they actually set up game farms where they breed things like lions, they breed things like I think it's springbucks. I don't know, not gazelles. I'm not sure if there's gazelles. But like zebras, all different types of things. They have they create these whole miniature ecosystems, like actual parks. Think of it like a Jurassic Park, and it's on huge plots of land in Africa. And people actually pay to go there and just hunt these animals. So people will actually show up, and they will pay to maybe go, for example, like go hunt a lion or something like that, or go hunt a zebra or whatever animal they prefer to choose. I'm assuming that depending on how varied the animal is, I'm sure they would pay a higher price. I'm not exactly sure, but yeah, it's a very profitable business, and it's been going on for a really, really long time. I mean, I'm not necessarily a fan of it in particular. Luckily, I think it's quite like a disgusting act. Really, I'm not going to. I mean, really, if you really want to be on par with the animal when it comes to hunting it, how about using your bare fists or a stick? It's not fair to use a gun, and
it's just so important that we protect wildlife.
I mean, they do protect wildlife, but yeah, it's very unfortunate that they hunt them in the process. But I mean, I don't know. I guess that's just that argument that some people say that some species need to be kept in control. For example, would it be a sort of, I don't know, is it a good argument to say that, for example, I don't know, in Australia, there's like a rabbit infestation, and people are hunting rabbits like wild, but maybe that's necessary because, I don't know, they kind of introduced that thing. There's a lot of debates.
There's a huge difference between native and imported species, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
of course, part of keeping biodiversity balanced and keeping these ecosystems balanced is to make sure things are in their natural state. And I don't know much about it in depth, but there's a super cool research project by WildArk, which is our conservation partner, and they've done a research project called the WildArk 100, which is basically they went together with scientists and researchers from all over the globe
Yeah.
and defined like 100 species of animals or flora and stuff like that, which are critical to uphold or maintain all ecosystems in the world. So like if we can keep those animals and species maintained, then all ecosystems should be fine.
Yeah.
So it's super interesting if you're interested into all of this. What I want to point out though is that, yes, we are running out of time, and it's not because the world is going under. We're not doomsday sayers, or we want to spread this word through a positive encouragement and interaction. So we're running out of time to stop damage and to kind of minimize the further damage we can make. So it's not like we're facing the end of the world, but we're facing the end of many great species, and there isn't a mass extinction going on because people don't respect animals, such as in Africa, in many places in Africa. The issue is actually that, living alongside these species is hard if you don't know what kind of benefit they have to the ecosystem and environment around you. So they till up the soil on natural lands where, rhinos live, to make farmlands, to make crops. And that's
also with Brazil. Those fires that
exactly.
it was in 2019 were absolutely, I think it was 2019. Yeah, it was absolutely terrible. I think Australia and Brazil were on fire, and apparently there's fires going on right now at the moment. And it's just, I think Australia got wiped off of 60% of all their animals
Isn't there
on
a fire in America at the moment?
I wouldn't be surprised. Is it near Florida? Or?
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, there's a fire going on. I think.
It's around California.
California.
It's one of the biggest wildfires we've faced.
There we go.
It's a pretty serious thing.
Yeah, I saw it on the news.
I actually cut you off, Jenny. So... Do you have? I think you were going to say something. I don't know. I don't want. I just want to let you catch up on anything. If I accidentally cut you off, I think
no
I did.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's. I just really want to emphasize that, like Sigmund said, we're trying to do this in a positive light. Like you said, it's not necessarily the end of the world, but it sure is going to be an interesting world if we don't get things sorted out. Taking action in our local communities and really ensuring that things, these normal things that we run into, or normal things that are occurring in our local communities are in line with protecting these animals and protecting our planet as well. It's just so important. And luckily, I feel incredibly thankful and grateful to even have the opportunity to do this through game development. It's not something that you see often or every day. Like you mentioned, this is, I think, one of the only games on Roblox that actually focuses on something like this. And it's just so important. I just can't emphasize that even more.
Okay. Well, yeah, yeah, that's great. We're just gonna go into a short break, and we're gonna see you guys in a bit. All right. Okay, and we are back. All right. Let's actually just move on to something that I want to question you guys both on. So, what are your actual thoughts on the actual global climate change impacts on the environment, other than simple things like endangerment? Do you think global warming is contributing to even more endangerment of animals that aren't essentially endangered just by general, things like hunting? Or would you say the climate change itself is actually endangering animals, or do you think most animals are mostly fine? I don't know.
I'm going to let Sigmund take the wheel on this one. I'm just going to pass it back and forth.
Yeah.
Go for it, man.
I had hoped you would take it.
Well, it is a complex issue. I would say, I don't know.
I definitely think climate change and global warming is affecting everything, and it is one of the causes of extinction now. So it has an effect. I don't know enough about it to actually know what kind of effect or how deep effect. But but it's not like that alone is causing open
Yeah.
extinction. So
Yeah.
it's a myriad of things here. But if you could reverse climate or global warming and climate change, then maybe it would also be easier to reverse some of the other things. So I think they're all pretty interconnected.
Yeah, I think it's actually quite a dire situation when it comes to the global, warming of the Earth, essentially, because, recently I think we've lost. I think I don't know what an estimate. I think it was something about like 70% of all like of our reefs in the ocean, like they're all just like turning into
And white.
yeah, they're
and that
just
means they're dead.
whitening. Yeah, because they're being bleached by the sun, and it's getting. And then the polar caps are. I don't even know how many polar caps we even have left. I really don't know. I don't even know if we even have any. I mean, they usually would say every year there's polar caps that are melting, but just makes me think at this point, what is there even left? And I think that is quite a depressing thing to actually really think about. But yeah.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, even just on top of that, I just want to say that, like, for example, some other statistics could be like 60% of all vertebrate individuals have been lost since the 1960s, which is a huge amount of animals and a huge amount of species. And, 14% of birds and like 26% of mammals, that sort of thing. 41% of amphibians and 33% of corals are threatened by this extinction.
Oh my gosh.
It's pretty scary to think that we're losing so much of things that we actually and these are species that we know about.
Yeah.
We don't know everything, especially in the ocean. There's that saying that goes around. We only know like 10% of what's in the ocean, or maybe even less than that. It's incredibly important that we acknowledge that we're losing so much just by the status quo, just doing what we're doing, not even really thinking about it from day to day.
And I think
we
don't understand how many things are affected by climate change, for example, or the other factors playing into this. But climate change is the topic right now, like, because we don't know all these species. We actually haven't discovered them yet.
Yeah.
So we don't know how many are going
actually under threat,
or have gone extinct, or even we don't know how many how many individuals of each species even exist. Like, it's impossible to keep a track. We just know more than we want, or more than what is comfortable is going extinct. Like, things have always been going extinct at some certain rate, for whatever reason. But the past maybe couple of 100 years, this has maybe multiplied by 100, a ratio of 100 to 1,000 at the rate they're going extinct. So it's pretty, it's a scary conversation when you get into it. But that doesn't mean it's unsolvable. Like, that's what we kind of want to put forward with Untamed Planet. We want to encourage that talk, and get people interested in this and understand, that we can make small changes to make an impact.
We can find creative ways to solve this problem.
I agree with everything you've said. It adds up, and it's all true and factual. But then with the global warming and that on one plate, and then you've got the plastic issue. Now with the food chains,
the plastic issue is huge.
Plastic takes thousands of years to biodegrade. And then that goes into the plankton, which are tiny microorganisms. They eat it, and that then kills that food chain, or it doesn't kill it, but it fractures it. So that goes up the food chain. So then you've got that issue, and then you've got the bigger issue with global warming, which then includes plankton and microorganisms again, because as the ice melts, there's actually microorganisms that are being released from that, which scientific studies have shown. That's actually infecting and endangering other species as well, because they weren't meant to be unfrozen.
And the scariest thing is, if we don't actually have plankton in our oceans, we won't have air to actually breathe. Most of all the air that we can use to breathe on Earth isn't actually from trees. Trees only make up 4%. The rest is actually the ocean. And there's actually organisms in the ocean that actually produce air for us to breathe on Earth. So it actually is quite a dire situation. And if plastic is manipulating that, yeah, our air is... God, how long?
But
I don't know.
then you got to understand
And algae
that
as well.
if
Algae also helps.
that that global warming has a big impact, very dangerous. But then plastics, both of them are as bad as each other in one way, shape, or form the other. And the problem is because now there's two issues. Now with the plastic issue, it is a disaster from its birth. You've created a product that's cheap, easy to manufacture, but can't actually be recycled. It just can't. So you've already got a disaster from the beginning there, and then global warming is just your greenhouse gases. Which
I actually want to ask both Jenny and
power.
Raven. Do you guys actually know about the ocean cleanup project? You guys heard of it? No. Yeah. Yeah, I think they're doing amazing work. They set up like these. I don't know what they're called. I don't know if it's the same people. I don't know if. But I think I think it's called Ocean Cleanup. I don't think it's called the Ocean Cleanup Project. I don't know. But what they do is they set up like these boats. Yeah, because they say apparently the direct cause of like issues to the environment in terms of the ocean when it comes to plastic is actually the rivers. That's where all the plastic source is coming from. The plastic is flowing from the rivers into the ocean. So what they said is oh right, if we want to sort this problem out, what we need to do is we need to target every river in the world, and essentially put a cap on the end of each river, and I don't know. They set up like these boats with these nets, and they catch. What it does is it catches the plastic moving by, and then it puts it up into picks it up and puts it into these huge tubs and all that type of stuff. And what they do is they just dump it into like these huge giant they're not barrels. They're more like containers.
Barges.
Yeah, and then they just ship them off somewhere, or I don't know, just to be recycled.
Probably to landfill.
So actually, in terms of any preservation efforts over the world, do you guys are there any that you can actually name for anyone who wants to essentially check out any preservation organizations on anything naturally based?
Yeah, I mean, for starters, I certainly would encourage you guys to check out the Wild Art website, because there's a lot of information there in terms of solutions. I think it's important here to emphasize that while there are so many factors to climate change, just looking into it, doing some research, and understanding the primary factors of it, we can all find solutions to this. This isn't an impossible thing. This isn't impossible to solve. It's incredibly important to solve. And yeah, I mean, it's not a hopeless situation, like Sigmund was saying earlier. There's a lot of books on this particular topic. And there's a lot of really cool podcasts out there too. It's just a matter of being interested and what you're interested in, what your hobbies are, and tying those two topics together and finding solutions through that. Similarly to what Sigmund has done with the Untamed Planet team, we're all game developers. But we want to make an impact.
Yeah, and I think there's definitely a ton of organizations and projects out there working both locally and globally. I can't name many right now, other than from the top of my head, it's like CBIN is a super cool little project.
That's in the UK.
But in the UK and Sydney and some new San Francisco, I think, or something like that, where while ocean cleanup takes the rivers, CBIN kind of goes straight to the cities and cleaning up the waters there, also the rivers. So, but yeah, there's a lot of cool things, and I think the best way to really get started or learn more about this is checking out what's in your local vicinity or your country, because there are definitely a lot of projects out there, and even talking about them or talking with them helps, because it that sort of recognition, or maybe even volunteering a day a year for one of these projects is making a larger impact than doing nothing.
All right.
I agree with all of that, but the most biggest dilemma to this whole thing is the whole manufacturing process. On the plastic crisis, is that if you want to buy something that's made of plastic, food, everything product-wise made of plastic. If you want to buy some soap, unless you're buying a bar of soap, it's in a plastic container. Everything you buy is plastic. Cans, everyone's like, right, we'll buy a can. You buy a can, guess what? The inside of the can is lined with plastic.
Yeah, they put plastic in everything. I don't know why. But
so wherever angle you go.
Yeah, well, there is actually a debate here because as you said, Raven, you can join a community that can help out with cleaning up the planet and helping all sorts of areas that you can. But now I can also understand Unix as well, and Unix is also saying, well, not that you can help the planet and that's great, but there's also a deep-rooted problem within the manufacturing industry in itself, which should actually be organized. But it isn't. But that's due to how industry has been for like the last 60 years or something. So and to break out of that pattern essentially is a very challenging thing to do. But here's also the frustrating thing is, industry already has tried this. They have tried to swap alternate materials. For example, there's the argument, okay, well, you can use paper, but if you use paper, we're going to have to chop down more trees. But the thing is, we need to save trees. We can't chop down trees all the time. And then, it's somewhat things like that, but it's more biodegradable. It's really it's really hard thing to argue, really. I think there's both sides are equal in their own right. There's actually problems on both sides. But I'm not necessarily sure if there's actually a solution to, industry in itself.
Certainly.
You look at plastic production, you're having to send off emissions of greenhouse gases made of oil, and you're burning in factories. And then paper, you're cutting down trees. So.
Yeah.
The thing that is really important to emphasize here, though, is that this is all run by human beings.
Yeah.
One of the most important things about this entire mission is to educate others so that they understand how important it is to make changes.
Yeah.
Business and industry certainly makes one of, if not the biggest impact towards global warming and the climate crisis as a whole. I mean, even just electricity, that's the production of electricity and burning coal and fossil gas, that's 25% of carbon emissions right there, right off the bat. Food and agriculture and land use, that's another 24%. And then you just have, the industry aspect of it, which is just 20%, and, how they go about their day-to-day, just running things. But it's not an impossible situation. Once again, I mean, this is something I learned a couple days ago, actually, looking into seeing what airlines are doing. Airlines like Alaska Airlines and American Airlines, what they joined is a movement to ensure that their emissions are zero by 2050. There's zero net emissions, and they have a whole plan. They have it all in a PDF, and they're trying. So I think it's just a matter of educating everyone, or at least educating as many people as you can. And that education has a ripple effect. And who knows, maybe our conversation here, with the internet and everything, can have such a ripple effect. And very important people can maybe listen to this podcast and, maybe something will change in that regard.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah, and I think like one very important thing to mention for Untamed Planet specifically is that we think 50% of our stakeholders is nature itself. So everything we do for nature and for making that impact. And we really just want to get the conversation started and start that movement. Get one person involved and they involve friends. Get one influencer involved and they involve their fans. And parents that are proud of their kids playing our game because they know it's making an impact or they're learning about it. And, that ripple effect that Jenny's talking about is what we're kind of relying on or wanting to create with all of this. And, maybe Untamed Planet in itself isn't successful, but maybe we have inspired someone who is. And, all of these small initiatives that start up around the world, if we inspired even just one of them to start up and they ended up, cutting emissions in half, in 40 years, then we have, in a way, succeeded. Like it's not our personal success, but it's the success of the planet and of nature.
Yeah. Well, I'm just gonna say one last thing about emissions, essentially, before we go off onto the last question I likely want to ask you guys. Is, I actually do believe there likely is a solution to emissions. So far, there's actually a country in Africa in particular where they're actually burning plastic as a renewable energy source, essentially, because they got so much rubbish and so much plastic, they're burning it, and what they're doing is they somehow invented a filter. What happens is, in this filter, what it does is all the carbon emissions that leave the building are somehow turned into like a powder or something like that, and it doesn't get released into the air. So I think there could actually be a likely a breakthrough of just. But I'm sure people have argued this and debated this before. But I'm sure maybe they could probably try something like having to maybe put a cap on top of actually anything that really makes carbon emissions, and maybe I don't know. But I don't know. I'm sure they probably.
That is true.
They probably. They probably could do that.
They definitely can. They can do it with radioactive materials, which there's a interesting. I forgot what it was called, but I think it was in the UK, where a nuclear disaster happened, was because of a filter. So it definitely can be filtered. Yeah. But then how
they got to design something elaborate, probably.
The problem is a company is going to spend money on filter. Yes, it's good for the environment, good for the planet.
Yeah.
But if they're not legally obliged to do that in the first place, they're not going to do it because it costs the company money.
All right.
It's all about educating people and ensuring that we're all on the same page and that we make these changes. And ways to do that is through government. This is a business and government issue, very big issue.
Yeah, politics do play a huge role, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's something where if more people are talking about it, business and government are going to have to focus on it a little bit more. So
yes.
All right. Yeah. Okay. So this is essentially probably the last question before we actually end off this whole podcast. Is what are your plans moving forward with Untamed Planets? Because so far I know you guys have an initiative where I think you guys adopted a baby rhino in Africa. I can't remember the country in particular, but what is your steps moving forward?
Good question. That road kind of solidifies as we go. But we need to reach more players. We need to be a more engaging game and fun game. So we're really going back to the drawing board and seeing how can we make an appealing game. And like we can't educate people or we can't get people started talking if we don't reach them. So our absolute biggest priority is reaching them, and we do that by making a fun game, but also by bringing in interesting partnerships or sponsorship with brands or influencers from all around the world, not just Roblox influencers, streamers and such, but maybe bigger names. That's our goal, at least. So hopefully the game is taking off a little bit. We don't necessarily need to be the top one game, but we need to reach more players in general. Yeah. So I think that's the kind of clear step ahead.
And then that Rhino project, what's that all about?
Yeah, Jenny, you want to fill in?
So we just had a whole campaign to adopt a baby rhino.
Yeah.
The primary focus was to spread the word that rhinos are having quite a difficult time at the moment.
Definitely.
Our mission was to help fund a conservation in Kenya to specifically focus on, saving these amazing animals.
Yeah.
And thankfully, Untamed Planets, the team came together. We were able to create a way to engage with the player while the player is helping in that effort.
Yeah.
Players were able to choose to donate to the conservation if they wanted to. And there was also an in-game mission where the reward at the end was a little rhino pet or companion, is what we call them in Untamed Planet. It kind of follows you around. our community was able to vote on which rhino they wanted to adopt.
Mm.
And
Yeah, I
the
saw
name
that.
of that rhino, which the community chose Hope as the name for that rhino.
That's
so
a really
that's
nice
very,
name.
very nice name.
Very
Yeah,
sweet.
very nice message.
Yeah, so the
Oh.
community adopted a 2.2-year-old rhino in Kenya, and we donated $10,000 in a sponsorship to that conservation to ensure the rhino can live safely and get the health and protection it needs, but also to help engage with the local community in there so they can live nicely with these rhinos and these animals, and educate the local community on all things nature and why we need to protect these rhinos, for example. So yeah, it was really cool seeing the game making that impact and finally understanding what sort of impact we can make, because this is just one of many projects to come that we will support.
All right. Any updates, you guys, on the game, or are there going to be any recent updates to the game, or so far things just cruising?
No, we're working on a lot of things. We actually, as I mentioned earlier, we scaled up to 7 full-time people, or like a core team. So starting last week, actually, we started moving full speed ahead on new features like jobs and tasks to do, and generally just upping the user experience and overall gameplay and replayability of the game.
Yeah.
So a lot of interesting
aspects.
a lot of interesting things are coming up, but game development takes time, so it's not like we can just walk it out in a week or two.
Lots of cool stuff in the future, so definitely keep an eye on Team Planet.
That's great. Well, yeah.
And we're also planning to plant 40,000 trees in Australia.
What?
Actually.
Now that's something I don't know. That's awesome. What? That's great.
To feel those impactful projects, and it's awesome working at Untamed Planet and being able to make this change.
Australia definitely needs those trees. That fire was absolutely devastating. It was horrible. Yeah. And we've actually come to the end of the podcast. Anything you guys would like to shout out, or anything that you'd like to say last minute before we actually leave? Anything you guys would like to say? Anything you'd like to promote? Anything?
Just great. I can't talk. That's great.
No, it's okay. Yeah.
Get involved. We need people to be engaged, and it is not as grim as it seems, because we can solve things. So encourage, don't scare. That's our thought.
Yep.
All right.
What you said.
Yeah, guys.
It's a very good message.
Also, check out Untamed Planet. We should. I think we're gonna link it down.
Seeing it grow.
Yeah, guys, check out Untamed Planet. It's an awesome project with awesome people behind it. And we've come to the end of our journey, and we'll see you guys all next week. Thank you guys for tuning into the DevCast, and we'll see you guys all later. Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Right.